Can a successor trustee change your trust? That's the question that we're going to be discussing today. I'm Sarah Siedentopf. I'm an estate planning and probate attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. So the very first thing that we need to know is, what is a successor trustee? The majority of revocable living trusts that I set up, the grantor, the person who is setting up the trust, is also the first trustee. So you're putting your stuff in the trust, but you continue to be in charge of it. And only when you die or become incapacitated or possibly voluntarily hand off to the next person do we have the successor trustee step in. So I often refer to them as backup trustees because it's the backup that steps in after you can't handle things any longer. But can this successor trustee change things? And the answer is yes. But it's a trick question because they can only change very certain limited things, and they're good things that you want them to be able to do. So the very first thing that a successor trustee can do is appoint another successor trustee. So if for some reason I can no longer handle the job and you haven't listed somebody to get the job after me, and there's not going to be any trustee for the trust, then I, as successor trustee, can appoint the next trustee. So that's definitely something you want, because especially when you set up a trust, 30 years ago, we don't know who's going to be a good choice, 30 years later, and you don't have the list that goes on and on for choices. So we want this to be able to happen. Another thing that a successor trustee can change about a trust is the governing law and situs of the trust. So if we have moved in from out of state and there is a good reason, maybe a tax reason, something like that, or even trust law reason, if there is a beneficial reason to change the trust from a Texas trust to a Georgia trust, the successor trustee can do that. So that's one that's universal for almost all trusts, is that the successor trustee or any trustee is going to be able to make that particular change. The other thing that successor trustees can sometimes do is decide that a trust is too small and that it's no longer economically viable and close it down. So it would not be economically viable if you are paying trustee fees and the trust is getting smaller and smaller to the point where it's actually hurting the beneficiaries for you to be paying so many fees to the trustee. So at that point, they can decide this just doesn't make sense financially and distribute the assets out to the beneficiaries. But those are really the only changes that they can make. They can't change the beneficiaries, they can't change the distribution amounts, so it's only very limited changes. And again, I look at a lot of trusts, people come in from out of state, we're moving mom here, maybe mom's acting as her own trustee, or maybe they are now successor trustee for mom, and we look at the trusts, consider making changes to it, see what we can change, because it does vary from trust to trust, and the exact language of a specific trust is what rules what changes you can make. But we often change things to Georgia trusts that came in from out of state. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this, and please like and subscribe for more content.